Hello, everyone. Welcome to Dynamo Truth Health and Wellness, Better Brain and Body. So glad you've decided to join me today for another episode of Holy Health. Remember, none of this is medical advice. It's just my effort to do good, to seek peace, and to pursue it by providing sound information to you based on health and God's word so that you can have a better brain and body and beliefs so that you can do God's will with vigor, so that you have peace in your body and in your life, in your brain and your body. Today, we're going to look at Daniel chapter 6 from the sermon on November 13th, 2022. And there wasn't a whole lot of peace in this chapter. However, you will find out there certainly was peace in the fiery furnace and in the lion's den during Daniel's lifetime. And that peace came from God. So that's what today is, Daniel in the lion's den, the fiery furnace. Amazing. Okay, so I'm going to read Daniel's part of chapter 6. We're going to start with verse 1, and we'll see how far we get. I'm not sure that I'll read the whole chapter, but we'll look at verses. It pleased Darius to appoint 120 satraps to rule throughout the kingdom, with 3 administrators over them, one of whom was Daniel. The satraps were made accountable to them so that the king might not suffer loss. Now, Daniel so distinguished himself among the administrators and the satraps by his exceptional qualities that the king planned to set him over the whole kingdom. At this, the administrators and the satraps tried to find grounds for charges against Daniel in his conduct of government affairs, but they were unable to do this. They could find no corruption in him because he was trustworthy and neither corrupt nor negligent. Finally, these men said, "We will never find any basis for charges against this man, Daniel, unless it has something to do with the law of his God." So these administrators and satraps went as a group to the king and said, "May King Darius live forever." The royal administrators, prefects, satraps, advisors, and governors have all agreed that the king should issue an edict and enforce the decree that anyone who prays to any god or human being during the next 30 days, except to you, your majesty, shall be thrown into the lion's den. Now, your majesty, issue the decree and put it in writing so that it cannot be altered, in accordance with the law of the Medes and Persians, which cannot be repealed. So King Darius put the decree in writing. Now, when Daniel learned that the decree had been published, he went home to his upstairs room where the windows opened toward Jerusalem. 3 times a day, he got down on his knees and prayed, giving thanks to his God, just as he had done before. Then these men went as a group and found Daniel praying and asking God for help. So they went to the king and spoke to him about his royal decree. "Did you not publish a decree that during the next 30 days, anyone who prays to any god or human being except you, your majesty, will be thrown into the lion's den?" The king answered, "The decree stands in accordance with the law of the Medes and Persians, which cannot be repealed." Then they said to the king, "Daniel, who is one of the exiles from Judah, pays no attention to you, your majesty, or to the decree you put in writing. He still prays 3 times a day." When the king heard this, he was greatly distressed. He was determined to rescue Daniel and made every effort until sundown to save his life. Sounds like a doctor in the hospital trying to save someone's life till the very end. What faithfulness that king had to Daniel. He loved Daniel. He regarded Daniel because Daniel was trustworthy. And a king delights in those who speak the truth. Let's start. The first point that Chris Arch made in this sermon, this was given on November 13th by Chris Arch. He titled it "The Conspiracy Against Daniel." So these satraps didn't like that you're jealous of Daniel. So what they do, they appealed to the king's pride. Okay, so think about that. They tried to set Daniel up. They were jealous. I want you to think about that. Our world is set up to get from you. Businesses want your money. Even pharmaceutical companies want your business because they want you on the medication. People want something from you. That isn't always bad. Sometimes it's good, but we all might be selfish at times and only want someone because of what they give to us. Now, I want you to consider that they appealed to the king, his pride, and it sounded like a good law to make. Well, yes, no one can pray to me. I want you to make the comparison between what appealed to his pride and then, number one, what appeals to our pride, because we're definitely in a position where we can succumb to the pride and arrogance that lurks within us constantly. So always guard yourself, walk in humility, but walk in health. Now, think about this. What appeals to your other senses, your sense of smell, eyes, your visual sense, taste? And then you want it so badly that you do not conduct yourself with faithfulness. Like Daniel did all these years, he was faithful. He had a reputation for doing good. They could find no blemish on his record, nothing. Think about that with you. We all have blemishes on our record, on our health record, on our integrity record, on our sin record, on our exercise record, on our financial record. We all have blemishes. Think about what you might be falling prey to now that is continuing to blemish you. And I'll tell you, the big one is sugar. We all want that sweet thing. For some people, it's salty. For some people, it's the chippy, the crunch. For some people, it's just highly processed foods which have the sugar and the fat and the salt all combined to reach a beautiful bliss point so that you will want it. They have psychologists in the food industry making sure they have the right recipe and add the correct ingredients to certain foods and make the color and the texture just what they should be to make it palatable and desirous to us, to the consumers. Don't fall prey to that, just like we shouldn't fall prey to pride, because Darius later regretted he made that law. And so in saying this to you, don't make some drastic promise or goal or proclamation about, I'm never going to do this again. Sometimes you have to. Don't do that to set yourself up for regret. Oh, I said I would never do this, and here I did it, and oh, I blew it. And then you go really hog wild in a bad way. Set yourself up for success and realize, okay, pride can be there often. My palate is there often. My prudence might become low often. My patience might not be all the best, and then I will be hasty to achieve something that just isn't in the picture for me. So think about what calls your name and beckons you that could be a temptation to get you away from health, just like pride beckons us to get us away from humility. Humility is your friend. Health is your friend. Health helps us to do God's will. And just as Daniel did God's will for all these years and still showed himself faithful and capable and a man of integrity and fortitude and complete trust in his God, show yourself faithful with fortitude. Yes, we will make mistakes. We're going to be in positions where we cannot follow the boundaries we might want to follow, but we can try, and we can have a usual manner of living a life worthy of Christ and worthy of health. Do what you can. Stay away from food in bags and boxes. Stay away from sugar, dairy, and gluten. Stay away from the middle aisles of the grocery store. Stay away from gossip. Stay away from too many credit cards. Stay away from jealousy and pride. Stay away from complaining. What is something that tempts you, and stay away from it? Stay away from staying up late and wasting time on watching movies or things like that. Get sleep. Stay away from the drinks that have sugar in them and get water instead. Do what you can, but don't make some big proclamation to all the people that you all of a sudden are gluten-free or sugar-free or you're going to quit smoking. Just do it quietly and ask some accountability partners to pray for you and to be there for you. So Daniel had no blemishes. So do your best to have a track record that has no blemishes on it. And think about that. What appeals to your taste? What appeals to your eyesight? We got to watch it because that can really get us to deviate from health. Healthy thoughts, healthy bodies, healthy brains, healthy thoughts. Okay, just, oh, and this one law that the king made is what could get Daniel. They found the one thing. Now for you, there might be just one thing that causes you trouble. Or there are many things that put you in a position to get you weak for that one thing. Daniel was in a position to be weak with this law because he was faithful in praying. He did it in the open. He had the fortitude to endure. He was not going to shrink back. That set him up for this law being a problem to him, which was actually not a problem. It was God's business to show God's glory in this and his faithfulness. But you may have done many things to set yourself up for the final one thing, the trigger that causes you harm. Maybe you have been living so many years with stress, with lack of sleep, with lack of water, with lack of good micronutrients from fruits and vegetables and the colors of the rainbow, with lack of fiber, and you've just been jolting your blood sugar up and down, and finally you are having maybe something comes on you, another stressor, or maybe a cold or some virus you don't even know you have. And then that tips you over the edge and really causes you to get sick. It's often reported that the first snowfall of every year, more heart attacks occur because people get out there and start shoveling. They're not in shape. They overwork themselves and they get a heart attack. That's been reported. So that was the final straw because they weren't having underlying health in the first place. Do what you can to keep inflammation down by eating right with colors of the rainbow, by drinking water, by sleeping, by forgiving, by keeping your stress down, by moving, by reading God's word day and night and going to him and laying your requests before him daily. Do what you can, so that the one last thing is not your enemy, but is just another arrow that you need to put your shield of faith up and you walk on in health and peace. Do what you can. Second point, the conviction of Daniel. Daniel was not going to give in. Daniel was not at all slack in this area. He had a lifestyle of obeying God, of honoring God, of doing what God had him to do. A lifestyle that did God's will. He had a lifestyle of not shrinking back and walking in fear. And here's an example of what this means. Habits. He had the habits to make it easy for him to not give in and to still pray to his God and not to King Darius. He had the habit. And habits have like a three-phase process. There's a cue, a routine, and a reward. And we follow that every day. A cue simply could be, oh, you hear a bell ring. Oh, I get up and I leave and go to the next event. And then you get a reward. You're there on time. That's an easy schedule event. But think about the cues we get in traffic. You see someone's car light ahead of you, the red light. It's a cue. Oh, they're slowing down. You have a routine. If they slow down, I slow down because I don't want to hit them. And then the reward is we drive safely in traffic. That's an easy one. But we also have other cues that might trigger us to have a reward that really isn't a reward. You hear someone eating chips, or you see them eating chips, or you see them eating chocolate, or you see them smoking a cigarette. or you hear they're going out somewhere. And that is a cue of, I want what that can give me. And then the routine would be, well, if I hear it or see it, I eat it, or I enjoy it. You know, a show comes on the TV. You could be reading a book, a TV show. Maybe somebody's watching in your room with you and turns it on. Oh, the TV. Immediate. What's the word? Stimulation, dopamine rush, and we routine. Oh, I look, and then the reward. Oh, I had something new. I like that. I'm not bored anymore. We have cues elsewhere where we take a drink of water, or we take a big breath. And so remember that you have a cue, a routine, and a reward. And this is huge in the habit building world. Whole books are written on just what I told you. But think about the cues that get you to do something, a routine that is not great because of the reward that comes your way. You know, in the morning, I have my coffee, and the cue is the alarm goes off. I get out of bed, and it is a reward to get my coffee. But on days when I don't have that, I get out of bed and I go straight to working out. It's a little harder, but the reward is this. Oh, I feel good. I'm done with that. I feel good. And days when I have coffee, the cue is I get out of bed, I have my quiet time, my coffee, and I go do my workout, and there's the reward. I have a routine. It's a habit. I don't get up every morning wondering, am I going to do this? Think about Daniel and his lifestyle. He was diligent and faithful. Oh, and that law that King Darius made, it was irrevocable. I want you to realize your health is not irrevocable. God made our bodies to heal. Give it 2 weeks. 2 weeks of sleeping, reading God's word, praying to him, moving, exercising, drinking water, going to him, getting rid of dairy, gluten, and sugar for 2 weeks. See what it will do for you. God made us to heal, and there's no temptation that's too great. A temptation is like that thing that you got to deal with, but God is able. My apologies. I'm going to hit stop recording at the moment, and then I will resume just in case something happens. Stay with me. Another couple of things about his second point about the conviction of Daniel and his lifetime of faithfulness. The pastor told 2 examples. One was a baseball pitcher, Don Sutton, who he ended up being only the 30th player to complete 300 games. And during any season, he only played in 20. And the point he made about this pitcher, major league pitcher, was that he had a life of balance and faithfulness to achieve that. He wasn't like a little sports car who goes fast and then is done. He equated it to something like that. But it's the long haul. It's not going on a crash diet. It's not saying I'm going to just do liquids for a while, or I'm going to lose weight and then be done with it, or I'm going to work on this until. No, it's a lifestyle. It's not something you're going to change. Just like once you follow Christ, it is your life. You're not going to turn back. You don't go back to the old ways. So our habits of health are a lifestyle: moving, drinking water, exercising, forgiving, thinking on what is pure, lovely, and just, giving thanks. These are lifestyles. They are not negotiable. They are non-negotiables for health, for peace in our brain, body, and beliefs. And the other example he told was Polycarp from history, how they wanted him to just burn a little incense. And he of course said no. He was 86 years old, I guess. And he said, how can I blaspheme my king? And he said, the Lord has not departed from me all these years, or been unfaithful all these years. Why would I do it now? Think of that. Don't think at all that your fortitude and your diligence are not part of your faithfulness. You might not notice how good it's making you feel or the benefits of it because you're used to it, your good habits. But boy, if you quit doing your good habits, you will notice the bad consequences. Don't fall prey to that. We have to endure. He who endures to the end will be saved. Endure to the end for your health. It matters, not just for you, but for your children, your grandchildren, for people who look at you, who watch you. They're learning from your example. They might be encouraged or disappointed in what they see. Your example matters, just like Polycarp's example and Daniel's example to us. You might be alone. You might be the only one not eating the king's food. You might be the only one praying to avoid temptation. You might be the only one. But hang in there. It's worth it. It's for you, your family, your church, and the rest of the world. And temptation's going to come. And as Chris Arch pointed out, make prayer a practice before you get to the lion's den. If you are praying and you're ready to endure the temptations that are going to come, and you know they'll come, you are in a position, you've set yourself up for success because you're already knowing it and praying and doing what you need to do for that fortitude. Don't think you're going to get thrown in the lion's den and not get scared if you haven't already been following your Lord faithfully or following your law of health faithfully. Habits matter. Everything you do over the long haul, they add up, just like Don Sutton, the pitcher. Every game he played in added up for the long haul. Faithfulness over time. It will matter. Okay, point 3. The Lord's care of Daniel. Well, Daniel was thrown into the lion's den, and he pointed out even powerful people can recognize mistakes. King Darius knew he had made a mistake. Daniel had committed no crime. He was clear. He had a clear conscience. He probably had a good night's sleep with those kitty cats. And, as Chris Arch pointed out, Psalm 46, the Lord is our help. He is our refuge in time of need, in times of the storm. He is our standard. He is the one who saves us from the stormy seas. And if he doesn't save us, we're off to him in glory. It's okay. Either way, God is God. And the God still delivers, and he told some anecdotes about some missionaries that held fast to their faith and they were delivered. And I won't go into that, but we don't often see that in this country, missionaries being delivered. But in other countries it does. And he mentioned one, Sam Elijah. The whole family was delivered through the night because the people who were going to kill them, if they did not recant their faith, those 2 individuals were killed, murdered during the night, and they were set free. And another one was, I won't go into it, he still delivers. But the point is this: even if you don't see other Christians experiencing health, it is still possible to be healthy. Many people say, oh, it doesn't work. And so they rely on medications and they rely on the things that are easy. They don't rely on their own faith and action. They won't exercise. They won't change their eating habits. They won't sleep more. They won't forgive because they do not know or believe that it matters. Don't fall prey to that just because you see other Christians sick and not living a life worthy of Christ or worthy of health because they are eating desserts and processed foods. No wonder they're overweight and not healthy. Just because you don't see it in their lives doesn't mean that God still doesn't deliver you from the danger of that so-called food. Look at the food God provided for you from field to fork. If it doesn't look like how God made it, it's not food. Now, about the proclamation about a big law, I'm very careful to not say to people, I'm gluten-free, I'm sugar-free, I'm dairy-free, because in essence, I'm not completely. I try to be because I don't like what they do to me. But yes, do I have sugar? I gave in last week over Thanksgiving. I had some stuff. I had one bite and boy, it was so hard to quit. And gluten, we don't know some of the stuff that has gluten. If it doesn't say it's gluten-free, then it's not. We don't know how food is prepared in restaurants. But in general, I stay away from it. And the same with dairy. It's everywhere. Sometimes I use cheese. And I don't want to make that big proclamation because I don't want someone calling me a hypocrite. I'm not a purist, but I try in general to be healthy. I exercise. Do I exercise really hard every day? Well, some days I do better than others, but some days are hard for me. And so am I proud of it? No, but I'm doing the best I can do. Do I always drink enough water? No. Do I always sleep enough? No. Do I always forgive? No, not right away, but I know I should and I want to. So do what you can. It's consistency. It's not doing it great for a week and stopping. It's consistency. It's faithfulness. It will add up. It will matter. And I was thinking about the lion's den, how dangerous it would be. And I want you to consider, what is your lion's den? What is the place that is really harming you or could harm you? Is it the group of friends you keep? Is it the church you go to that isn't preaching the truth? Is it the gossip that you listen to? Is it the wasted time, the technology when you're supposed to be doing other things? Is it the middle of the grocery store, the food aisles? Is it a certain aisle in the grocery store? Is it the Walmart or gas stations? Is it Starbucks coffee? What is the lion's den for you that really is hard to give up, or that is controlling you in a way that you know shouldn't, or is harming your health? You tell me. You don't have to tell me. You decide what is it and move forward with action to say, this is a lion's den. I don't have to be in here. God will deliver me from it. If you cannot leave it and escape it, God will show a way and protect you from the lions, whether that lion is a temptation you see on a table, or something you smell, or words you hear, or people you're around, or the cigarette you see. God is able to save you from the lions in that lion's den. But do your best to be faithful before you get to the lion's den, whatever that is. It could be your car where you speed. It could be the gym where you work out and show everyone how powerful you are, and so your pride is puffed up. It could be your credit card where you buy things that you should not buy, like very, very nice gym clothing to look great at the gym, or your coffee that is costing you a lot of money and isn't healthy. You know, we all have our own lion's den. We all have a temptation, and we all have a law that we try to achieve or keep that we really don't need to keep. And so we fall from grace and we become legalistic or judgmental. What is it? Just look at your life, but reflect on what Daniel did and try to mimic his example. The words are good. God's word is powerful. No temptation is too great for you because God is able. Well, that's the sermon for Holy, Holy Health from November 13th. I hope you learned something. Remember, seek peace and pursue it. Your goal for health is to do God's will with vigor, to enhance the eternal benefit for everyone. It's not just about you. It's about your circles, your church, your family, and the whole world. Have a great week and try to do something. Identify one lion's den that you need to get rid of. Bye-bye.